Most people spend their entire lives believing they're making their own decisions, choosing their own ambitions, building their own identity, and creating their own future. But what if most of those choices were made before you're old enough to question them? Psychologists call it conditioning. Sociologists call it socialization. I call it the script. An invisible set of instructions installed long before you become aware it exists. And for most people, the script is quietly running their entire life. But there is a problem with this theory. The script begins early, before skepticism, before critical thinking, before conscious choice. A child enters the world with almost no framework for understanding reality, so the environment provides one. Parents teach what is acceptable, schools teach what success looks like, culture teaches what deserves admiration, society teaches which dreams are respectable. Through constant repetition, the architecture forms. You learn what earns approval. You learn what creates rejection. You learn how to belong. Eventually, the lesson becomes invisible. The script disappears, but the performance remains. But there is another force, something I call the signal. Unlike the script, the signal doesn't come from the outside. It comes from somewhere deeper. One of my earliest memories has never made sense to me. When I was barely old enough to write, I had a strange habit. I would create checks on pieces of paper and hand them to people I liked. I would tell them, don't cash it just yet. Cash it when I'm older, because I'm going to be rich. There was no evidence, no role models, no business plans. Nobody around me was teaching entrepreneurship or wealth, and yet the conviction was always there. To this day, I cannot fully explain it. Maybe it was imagination, maybe intuition, maybe something deeper. But what I do know is this: not everything about human identity feels programmed. Sometimes there is a signal underneath the noise. Consider Steve Jobs. The script around him was already written. Get good launches, find stability, follow the established path. But Jobs refused to accept the assumptions underneath the script. Why should computers only belong to corporations? Why should technology be ugly? Why should design and engineering remain separate? His greatest breakthroughs didn't come from following the script. They came from questioning it. Identity is rarely one single thing. It is a constant negotiation between two forces. The script, written by the world. The signal, whispering from within. The script seeks conformity. The signal seeks authenticity. Most people listen to only one voice. That is where the internal conflict begins. I still haven't fully become the person I imagined when I was writing those checks, but the conviction never disappeared. Today I have something I didn't have as a child: a blueprint, a direction, a system. Every lesson, every failure, every risk, every project, every file is another mark etched into the path toward that vision. Maybe your future is not determined entirely by the script. Maybe it's not determined entirely by the signal. Maybe your life becomes the outcome of whichever voice you choose to follow. So here is the real question. If I've removed your parents, your teachers, your culture, your social media feed, your expectations, who would still be left? And would you recognize that person?